What's going on, everybody? This is Drew here. I want to welcome you all to a brand new episode of Phoenix Down. This is Phoenix Down episode 100.2, and we are continuing our playthrough of The Legend of Zelda, the Ocarina of Time. Today I have with me Matt.
Hello.
And yeah, last we left off, we had finished up the Fire Temple.
Yep, Forest Temple, Fire Temple, we're in it now.
Yep.
We're in the thick of it. We've done some actual temples.
Yep, we went to the... we have moved on to the bane of my 13-year-old's existence, which was the Water Temple. So in order for us to get there first, we have to figure out a couple of things. So if you talk to Navi, she tells us that, hey, why don't we go check out the Zoras? We haven't talked to them since you've became an adult. So we go to the Zora domain. Which first I have to say, I know you planted a beanstalk here.
I did.
Yeah.
And I used it.
That is nice, right?
Yeah, that is nice and quick. Except I didn't realize it wasn't going to just drop me off at the end, so I wrote it like all the way around, like, oh, where are we going? This is a nice long trip. I'm like, oh shit, I just ended up right back where I started.
Yeah, you got to jump.
Yeah. I also took, because it takes you by, like, there's a couple of other platforms, so I was able to, I think there was, a sculptula somewhere up there, and I hopped off, and I found some hole in the ground. Like, all of a sudden, since I'm an adult, I found some holes in the ground that just, like, automatically bring you to little tiny caves with treasure chests in them.
Right.
Don't think I found anything of note in them. Just that that they're there now. I don't know if it's just that they were hidden before, or that there were rocks that blew up before, or where exactly they came from. But I saw a hole, so I had to jump in it, and yeah, they've all been kind of positive, but nothing exciting.
Right.
So far.
So my question to you is, at the end of where we stop, where you're at right now, how many heart containers do you have?
Enough to go all the way across the screen.
Okay.
I can check real quick.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do that, but that was kind of what I was getting at. I have enough hearts to go across the screen once, and then a single heart below it.
I've got 10, which is, I assume, I don't know, maybe I could fit one more on this row, or maybe there's one more below it. But yeah, I feel like I'm at a point now where at least I can take a few hits without worrying too much.
Yeah, definitely. I still keep a fairy in a bottle with me at all times, though.
Yeah, speaking of, I actually spent quite a long time in this play session detouring because, after our last conversation, I was like, hey, I've only got one bottle, the one that we have to get, and it seems like there are going to be a lot of points in the rest of this game where I'm going to wish I had a fairy in a bottle.
Yep.
And then coming up, we need to use bottles for, to carry other things around. Like we talked about, I haven't put an insect in the bottle yet, but if that's something I can certainly do. and we're talking about flames, putting flames in bottles. I was like, look, I only have the one. I feel like I need more. So I ended up, before I went in to visit the Zoras, I spent a little time, I don't know, I wouldn't really call them side quests necessarily, but just getting some things. I felt like I needed more things that I missed. So I went back to Kakariko Village and handed in my 10 Skulltulas to get the adult wallet so I can have 200 rupees.
There you go.
Started there. Then I, for the first time, reverted back to Child Link.
Oh, okay.
And went to get Epona's song.
Right.
Because I hadn't gotten that the first time around. So at some point here, I will try to get the horse itself, but I didn't go that far. I just got the song. Then I said, hey, I need some bottles. So I went and did the little side quest where you have to get all 7 chickens and put them in the pen.
Right.
To get my bottle. Then I went back to the ranch and I identified the 3 unique cuckoos for Talon. And I think he gives you a bottle. Is that right?
Maybe. I can't remember how I got I know I got the bottle and it was filled with Lon Lon milk.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I think if you identify the 3 unique chickens that don't look any different,
he gives you Lon Lon milk.
I think he gives you the bottle full of milk.
Yep. Which the milk is actually pretty handy. It fills up 5 hearts and you drink it once and you still have another swig.
Yep. I definitely used that.
So, yeah. Anything else that you got?
No, that was basically just it. I wanted the song. I wanted the wallet. I got 2 more bottles to add to my first one. And then I transitioned back to Adult Link and then went to the Ice Cavern to kind of continue preparations for the Water Temple.
There you go. So, what we should say first is going to the Zora domain. We noticed something is amiss. Everything's frozen. The entire little lake area there is frozen. And when you go to talk to the king, he is frozen solid as well. He is encased red ice. And so we're like, okay.
Then you have, what do you call this? If it's not a temple.
I would say it's like a mini dungeon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not really complicated enough. Like, it's nothing like as complicated as the Water Temple, but it's a thing, and there's a compass in here, right? And
there's a map and a compass.
Yeah, so I was like, does it count as a temple? It's not clearly not a temple, but I guess you just call it a generic short dungeon.
Yeah, it was a lot like the Great Deku Tree.
Yep.
With no boss at the end, just kind of like a mini boss with the wolves. But yeah, so having to go to the Ice Cavern. So if we go behind the king and where Jabu Jabu was, it's now empty, but it has ice floats around.
Yeah, little icebergs.
Yep.
Flat tops.
And there's actually a heart piece right out there that you can grab.
Yep, I did get it. I definitely had some trouble getting back up on the ice at some points, but nothing serious. Took a couple of tries, but I got over there and got my heart piece. And at this point, I have finally gotten 1 additional life heart from collecting 4 heart pieces.
Right. So I think that's where I got my 1 extra one than you, is because I've gotten enough heart pieces to give me 2 heart containers.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, going through the Ice Cavern. Like I said, mini dungeon, not too very difficult. There are a couple of puzzles, particularly the one where you have to push the blocks.
Yep.
I got that on my first try this time around, but I remember as a kid not being able to figure this out at all.
There aren't that many options to it, though, right? Like,
that's the thing. Like, I was just like, I guess as a kid, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. That's the thing I always wonder, right? Like, I feel like I never can tell if games that I go back to are going to be harder or easier than they've seemed in the past. Um, in some ways, something like this, I'm like, maybe I can just work things out better now than I could at 14. But on the other hand, I'm like, my reflexes probably aren't as good. My attention span is like shot. I can't sit here for 2 hours and bang my head against this until I brute force my way through it. So, I always wonder going back to games, not that I'm going back to this one, but, these types of games, are they going to feel harder because I don't have the time, or easier because I have learned something in the past 20 years about playing games? I don't know. I never really know.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that I find just because I've played this game before makes it easier. On top of that, there is also mechanics in this game that I know now because I've played other Zelda games before, that when I was a kid I didn't understand until, the game either taught me or I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
At the same time, I see myself making the same mistakes that I did as a kid.
I've learned nothing in 20 years.
No, I have learned nothing from the water temple in 20 years because we'll get into that. But so the whole point of this ice cave is to get this fire. There is a blue flame that is perpetual, and you can collect it and put it in a bottle, and it will melt the red ice that is around the areas. And this allows us to solve a couple puzzles. It also allows us to thaw out the king so we can talk to him.
Yeah.
And the king tells us that his daughter, what's her name again? Ruto?
Ruto? Yep.
Yeah, Ruto has went to the water temple. So we need to go there as well. So remember last week when I told you the water temple, you know the entrance to the water temple, you just didn't realize it was the water temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lake Hyla.
Yep.
So the problem is that getting to Lake Hyla originally when we were a kid, we swam in the lake in the Zora domain, and it warped us to Lake Hyla. How do you get there from now? As an adult Link, it's frozen, so we can't, swim down there. So we have to hoof it to Lake Hyla all across.
Well, we do get our two key components still in that ice cavern, though.
What was the item we got from it?
Two key items. So the heavy boots.
Yes, that's right.
And then the Zora tunic to let us breathe underwater.
That's right. The king gives us the Zora tunic.
Yep. Yeah, we get the boots in one of the chests. That's basically like the end part of the ice cavern dungeon.
Yeah.
And then after we exit, we get the tunic from the king.
That's right. Yeah. So we get the iron boots and the blue tunic.
So definitely not optional, right? It wouldn't even be remotely conceivable that you could get through the water temple without these two things.
No, you cannot. So it allows us to breathe underwater, the Zora tunic, and it makes the Link have a nice shade of blue rather than
it is a nice intense blue.
Yeah, instead of the red one. So we are now going to have to go to Lake Hyla. How do we get there? Well, we have to go clear across Hyrule Field. But here's the problem. The road that leads to Lake Hyla is blocked off by a gate that Link can't climb. Now, I know what this meant. Matt, did you know what this meant?
I don't think so.
So, did you have to look up what to do next?
Yeah, probably. Because as we said in the last recording, I fully intended not to use the guide in the water temple, but I made no such claims about not using the guide before or after the water temple. So I was not really attempting not to use it at this
Right.
point.
Okay. So I remember this, and I was like, all right, so I remember, so if we remember in the last episode, I was not able to get Epona because I kept failing at the race.
Yep.
So I said, I just won't get the horse. Oh, no, no, you have to get the horse.
Wait, I didn't get the horse.
You didn't get the horse?
No, I haven't even tried to get the horse yet.
How did you get over that fence?
That is a very good question. I could have swore I didn't even see the fence until after I left the water temple.
I have no idea how you made it to the water temple without getting Epona.
That's a pretty good question.
Because Epona has the ability to jump fences. I have to know, Matt. Because if there's a secret to getting to Lake Hyla as an adult that I don't know about.
Or use the Serenade of Water to get there instantly.
Did we already learn the Serenade of Water? I thought we learned it whenever we made it to Lake Hyla. Don't we learn it whenever Sheik shows up?
That's a very good question.
So you legit don't have Epona yet?
Nope, I have not even tried to get Epona.
Okay. I have no idea how you made it to Lake Hyla then. But that's fine. We can figure it out later. Or maybe one of the gurus of Zelda can email us and tell us how he did it. But yeah, making it to Lake Hyla, we have to make sure we have our Zora tunic equipped so we can breathe underwater, and put on the iron boots to sink to the bottom of the water. We can then walk on the surface of or on the bottom of the lake, basically, and walk right into the water temple.
Yeah, so, I think we already had the Serenade of Water.
Did we?
Yeah, this basically says you learn this from Sheik the first time you enter Lake Hylia.
But the first time we enter Lake Hylia is when we were a kid.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the way I got there. Is I just warped straight there.
I have no idea. So we challenged ourselves. Dustin did as well. To not use a FAQ for going through the water temple. It took me 2 hours, but I did get through the water temple without using a FAQ.
That's pretty impressive. It probably took me almost 2 hours, and I gave up partway through and used a FAQ.
Even with a FAQ, that dungeon is confusing.
Yeah, I fully did try not to use a FAQ, but I had no intent of actually making it through without a FAQ. I just wanted to see how far I could get before I caved. And the answer is 41 minutes.
So you set a timer?
Yeah, I set a timer and I said I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to do anything but play this dungeon until I either finish it or figure out that I need help.
So, not only did it take me 2 hours to do this, I did it on separate days. Which was even worse. So,
yeah.
I got about halfway through it, and it was probably about an hour. And I had to stop playing, so I saved my game, and it starts you at the beginning of the water temple again.
Oh.
but here's the thing: everything that you've unlocked, if you've got any keys, if you've got any items or something like that, you keep it, but you start back at the opening area with the water level being its normal state. So that is the big. This whole dungeon's a puzzle because the point of it is to raise and lower the water level on these 3 floors of this underground cave temple thing. And you do that by entering certain rooms that have the Triforce, and you play Zelda's Lullaby. It activates and lowers the water, raises it, and raises it to the 3rd floor as well.
So your most handy of songs, definitely.
Yes. The thing is that these rooms are specific rooms. And the thing about the 3DS version, there's 2 things that make the 3DS version a lot easier. The first one being switching to the iron boots, because there are times where you need to sink down through the water using the iron boots, and there are times where you need to float up to the surface, so you need to take the boots off. In the original N64 version of this game, you would have to pause the game, go through a menu, select the boots, put them on, and then unpause the game. That took forever. Now, you can have the boots equipped to one of the touch buttons on the touch screen of the DS, and you can just press it, and he immediately equips them. That is a godsend.
Yeah, I can imagine so, given the number of times you're alternating back and forth.
Yes.
I mean, the boots on and off, certainly, but even otherwise, like, there are parts that I was using the arrow and the long shot and, all these different weapons and combinations of weapons. So it's, there's a lot of inventory manipulation that's eased by having that lower screen.
No, absolutely. So the other thing that the 3DS version makes it easier is that Nintendo realized that in 1998, when this game came out, the water temple was everyone's brick wall. Everyone hated the water temple. Everyone. All the kids in my school hated the water temple. They complained about it. But, so they decided to fix that and make it slightly easier in the 3DS version. Because now there are color-coded doorways. And this is basically, this room leads to a place where you can raise or lower the water level.
And even one step further than that, it's not like just the door is colored, but there's like the wall, there's like a path highlighted on the walls.
Yeah, to show you exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
And then there's also a little symbol that shows you the water level. It's either low, medium, or high. But in the 64 version of this game, you just had to memorize where those rooms were, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, this game, again, definitely would have been a take notes your whole playthrough for me.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you would do some parts in this game without, like, writing specific notes to yourself, like, don't forget this is here, or something was amiss in this room, definitely come back to it.
Yeah. So, the problem I had was, first off, is that there are times in this dungeon where you'll get a key, and you'll say, all right, I know where there's a door. And you'll unlock that door, and then you run right into another locked door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. Now I got to find another key. And the issue with me was the map was not helping me because I would look at the second floor and there would be a room that has no entrance and no exit. And I'm like, all right, how do I get to that room? And it's obviously from falling down into it or raising up to it. But the item that we get in this dungeon is actually an upgrade to an item we already have. It turns the hook shot into the long shot. So there's a couple of things in this dungeon where you can totally hook shot to it, but it doesn't reach as far. So getting this upgrade allows you to then hook shot from, probably, I'd say 30, 40 feet.
Yep.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, also really good for getting things hanging on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Like those spiders.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's one of the, it's the second to last thing you get in this dungeon, because the last thing you get in this dungeon is the boss key.
Yep.
But, man, the issue I had here was that obviously there's a specific way to get everything in one fell swoop without having to raise and lower multiple times the water temple or the water level. And each time I would jump down or raise or lower the water and then realize that just screwed me over. I got to do this whole sequence again. And it was times where I was like, okay, I don't know where anything is, so I'm just going to have to raise and lower again from the beginning. And then, of course, I quit for the day and then came back to it the next day, and I was like, I can't even remember where I was.
Yeah, I definitely had a couple points where I realized I made a mistake, and then I was just like, I don't even know how to get back here again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't go back the way I just came because I made a mistake and fell off a ledge. So, do I have to go all the way to the beginning and start the whole temple over, or is there a jumping on point that I can do, like on the second floor or the third floor, to get back to where I need to be? And I was just like, man, I'm starting to get pretty lost in this temple.
So I was so brain dead during this temple that I was underwater using the iron boots, and I was walking, and I would come to a wall, and I would look up and say, I need to get up there somehow. And I would walk out of the room, come back, and it took me like 5 minutes to finally realize, take off the iron boots, idiot, and float up. And I was just like, gosh, what the hell's wrong with me? And that's what this temple does to you, man.
Yep. I had one brain fart where I just stared at this. I think it's all the way at the top on the third floor. Like you need to come back there once you get the long shot, because there's like, if you're standing in the central tower, there's a door that you can't reach in time. There's an eye under the door that you can hit the eye, but the timer on the door is so short that you can't jump in the water, climb up on the ledge, and make it through before the door shuts.
Right.
And you can see that there's the hook point down the hallway. So I'm like, well, I can't reach that though. And I didn't know I was going to get a long shot. Right? That would have helped. I would have said, all right, well, I don't have the long shot yet, except I didn't know that was a thing. So I sat there, and I realized that I could hit the eye, but only if I used the arrow. I couldn't use the hook shot to hit the eye. So I had to rearrange my inventory so that I could use both the arrow and the hook shot. But I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, do I need to... I'm like, what? I know the physics of what I can do in this game right now, and I don't see any way to get across. And I think I had read something that if you do some kind of roll jump, you can go farther. Like if you roll off the edge.
Technically, you do, yes.
So then I was like, all right, well, that must be it. I'm just not good at this roll jump. And then and I just sat there. I'm like, hit the eye, roll jump. No, that didn't work. Slowly swim back, climb up. Kill another spider that spawned. All right, hit the eye, roll jump. No, I'm still not very good at it. Let me just keep trying. And then like 20 tries later, I'm like, all right, this is not the way, because if this is what you're intending to do, like, it not only is the level complicated, but I physically can't do it even when I know what I need to do. So that was the only point I got really stuck. Other than that, the reason I ended up giving up on my timer was just a locked door, and I was like 41 minutes in. I was somewhere on the second level, and I realized that I needed another key, and I didn't have it. And I was like, I don't know where to go. I did some backtracking, went into some rooms. I'm like, yeah, I already did this room. I already did this one. I'm not sure where to go. And then it turns out that maybe to the game's credit, it wasn't really that there was anything crazy difficult. I just missed something. And, so I wouldn't really even hold it against the water temple. It was just that there was the room, I think there ends up being 2 rooms, where you need to light 2 of the torches to open the room to get the key that's behind the locked door, or the gated door,
right?
Not the locked door. So it was just one of those that I hadn't seen, and I had assumed that whole section was done, so I stopped going back there and couldn't figure out what else I needed to do. And then at the end, I was like, all right, I'm not getting anywhere. So then I finally turned it off, figured out that's what I needed to do, and then carried on.
If anything, the water temple shows us how genius Nintendo is. Because, as I said in previous episodes, there is no way to get stuck in this game. You can get a key. So your first small key could be the last small key that I get. And I could open up a door that is completely on the opposite side of the dungeon than the one that you did. And neither of us are screwed.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is interesting because having heard so much backlash, if you will, against this temple, it is a pretty cool level, right? Like, I don't know, just the fact that you're raising and lowering the water, the fact that you have the verticality of going down even when there's water, or going up, you can float up and sink down, with the multiple levels. I don't know. It's a very intricate level in a good way. Just maybe a little bit tough because if you miss something, it's pretty convoluted to get anywhere in this level.
Yeah. If you miss something, you're guaranteed to spend another probably 15 minutes just getting back to where you were.
And that's if you know where, if you miss something and know where it is, it's 15 minutes. But if you're wandering, man, there's a lot of places you can wander in this level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, yeah. So, right before getting to where we can get the boss key, we have our mini-boss of the dungeon, which is still to this day, I think, one of the coolest parts of Zelda, like the entire series. And that is having to fight Shadow Link.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. And that's another thing about this level. It had a lot of really cool moments.
Yeah.
Like I actually even thought it was cool just jumping across the little water spouts, and then there's another room, the room with like the dragon statue in it, and the water's like vortexing around the room, and you need to kind of figure out where to stand to know that you've got a certain time limit when you're swirling around the room to try and grab the ledge.
Yeah.
Like I thought it did some interesting things with kind of the physics and the positioning of the of basically how you interact with some of these puzzles.
Yeah. There's definitely some options there. So instead of floating around that vortex room with the dragon, I can use the iron boots to land on one of its backs, and then aim with my hook shot and just shot myself up.
Yep.
So, but yeah, the mini boss with with Shadow Link. So you're in this large room that looks almost like a mirror lake.
Yeah.
And you run across it. There's a tree in the middle of it. And you run across it, and it's a locked door. So, okay, well, what do? I have to go back. You go back, and behind the tree is Shadow Link. And so you start getting attacked by a enemy that plays exactly like Link does. I don't know what to do here. I beat him, but I don't know how I beat him.
Yeah, I thought given the Mirror Lake, the walls that you can't see, but they're clearly keeping you kind of centralized here, the fact that he's a shadow version of yourself, I thought this was going to be some epic fight, but all it was swing your sword a little faster than he does.
Yeah.
It basically just button mash. And it was like he would block, and then get hit. And then he would come around, and I would swing 3 times. It was block, then he would get hit.
See, that didn't happen for me. In fact, there was parts where he would jump on my sword.
Like impale himself?
No, he would jump and stand on top of my sword while it was out in midair. And and Link would freeze for a second. I don't know if that was a glitch or if that was actually part of it.
That's like when I used to think that slowdown was like an effect. Right? Like when you cast some like giant magic spell and everything slows down, I'm like, oh, they really want you to see every second of this, and they're giving you like a frame by frame play by of it, and I'm like, all right, actually that's not what they're doing. It's just a problem. It's unintentional.
But yeah. But I beat Shadow Link. I believe beating Shadow Link leads to the long shot. Is that correct? I believe so.
Yep.
And then now with the long shot, we can go get the boss key and then go to the boss.
Yeah, and then for me, that was the most annoying part of this water temple was when you have to walk by the vortexes.
That was the worst
and
part.
They're like, they're like sucking you down to the side.
Yeah.
And I never knew if I was supposed to try and swim past them because I felt like no matter what I did, I would just get sucked in. So I usually would keep the iron boots on and just stomp around in the water until I was right by whatever the ledge is that I was trying to climb up onto. But sometimes, even after all that, I would, take the boots off and then just get sucked into the vortex.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened to me a few times. But yeah, the boss of this dungeon, I can't even remember what it was called. They all have weird names. But
yeah, this one was just like the it was Morpha, the giant amoeba.
Oh, there you go.
But in my mind, this is not an amoeba. I've seen an amoeba in textbooks. This definitely, to me, was the entity from the movie The Abyss.
Okay.
Right? If you've seen that, it's like a sentient water spout, and it forms a face at the end. Ed Harris, great movie.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what this thing was, other than whatever the red orb was that was kind of controlling it, or maybe unrelated to it. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that was the thing that was controlling the water.
But weren't there sometimes two and three spouts, and there was only still the one brain? So was it transmitting its intent through the pool?
Yeah, I think that's what was happening.
I guess it must have been.
But this was actually a relatively easy boss fight for me, because all you had to do is hit it with the hook shot, drag it to you. So basically, it's surrounding itself with water, and the water will come up out of the pool and turn into like a tentacle that will try and grab Link. And the little amoeba brain thing is in one of the tentacles. Shoot it with a hook shot, it pulls it out of the water, and now it's hopping around on the ground, and slash it. and then it jumps back into the water. Rinse, repeat. It's dead.
Yep. I think I might have gotten hit once or twice because I didn't see one of the tentacles behind me. But
yeah, so the first couple of rounds of attacks, it's only the single tentacle, and then it upgrades to 2, and that one usually is behind you.
Yeah.
I did get grabbed once, and I was like, oh boy, this is...
Yeah, I got grabbed once.
This is not going to be good. But, yeah, pretty simple boss fight. Took it out. Got another heart container. And then we left. And Ruto, I should mention, now is wanting us to be her husband, because we made that promise years and years ago. And she said that she is going to remain in the Chamber of Sages, because she is actually the Sage of the Water Temple. So she grants us her medallion and gives us her power. Now, like I said, it took me 2 days to get through the Water Temple. I did talk to Navi, because I honestly didn't know what to do next. I was like, I don't know what to do next. We do get a cutscene with Sheik, and he tells us that it's getting real now, and does his little disappearing act. Also, if you want to get fire arrows, did you get the fire arrows, Matt?
Yep.
Okay.
Based on that little poem or quote on the stone.
Yeah, you're right there. And now that the lake has risen, we can shoot an arrow into the sun, and we get the fire arrows.
I have not shot a fire arrow, but I have acquired them.
There you go. And so I talked to Navi because I didn't know what to do next. And Navi keeps mentioning something about a well. Now, the only well I know of is in Kakariko Village. So I went back to Kakariko Village, and the well is boarded up. I can't get in there. So that's when I realized I have to go back in time. So
yeah.
I went back to the Temple of Time. I inserted the Master Sword back into its slot, went back through time, turned back into Child Link, and went to Kakariko Village and said, I'm going to save my game. And that is where I left. What about you, Matt? Did you do anything else in between this?
Yeah, I did a little bit more. So I went and did the well as like another mini dungeon.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the Shadow Temple.
You still in it now?
Yeah, at the end boss.
Ah, gotcha. So I'm going to attempt to... So we have 2 temples left. We have the Shadow Temple and the Light Temple. I'm going to do my best to finish up those 2 temples. And, of course, we that's not the end. We have one final dungeon to go through. Of course. But I think it would be best if we just did... We talked about those 2 temples next week, and then the week after the ending, basically.
Yep.
So that seems to work out. But I will do my best to get through it. I know it's been kind of crazy this week. And I haven't had really much time to devote to Zelda.
Been kind of crazy this year so far.
Yeah, it has. And it's only 21 days into this year. So, but that's where I'm going to stop. We do have, that was my phone. I was unplugging my phone because it was charging. We do have a email coming in from Dustin, and it says it's titled Water Temple. And Dustin says, how did you guys do with the challenge? I got through the temple just fine. The hardest part for me was the Shadow Link boss fight, and there were a couple of rooms where I had to use Din's fire to light some torches hidden behind walls. Else it wasn't bad at all. I played more after the temple, and I was trying to get to one dungeon, but it required a specific item I didn't have, so I went back to Kokoriko Village and found the other temple, but it also requires the same item. I ended up getting the item for both and stopped there. I don't have much to say, but I was going to mention in my first email that when you sneak into the castle and are going to spy on Ganondorf, if you look through the other windows, you'll see portraits of Mario, Yoshi, Luigi, and Peach.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's a fun little Easter egg. And that's his email. Thank you for that email, Dustin. Yeah, so I will be headed to the, I guess I'll
to
be,
the well.
Yeah, I'll be headed to the well. And I believe, if I am not mistaken, that is the mini dungeon to get the Lens of Truth.
Yep, it certainly is.
Okay, yeah. Wow, I actually remember that. Yeah. But, yeah. That's going to be it for us. If you would like to send us an email, it's drew@ztgd.com. You can also tweet to us. I am at Drew Leachman. Matt is at REMGS. And the podcast itself is at ZTGD Phoenix Down. Shadow Temple and Light Temple we are going to try to get through for the next recording. And then the final recording, we will be talking about taking on Mr. Ganondorf himself. But, Matt, how you feeling? How you feeling about this game?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the Water Temple for me was really interesting because it seems so well designed. I may go into the next temple, the Spirit Temple, and try again not to use a FAQ for as long as I can, but I'm almost a little bit wistful. I wish I could have played this game at like 14 or 16 and really just spent the time to figure out all its secrets, because the intricacy of the Water Temple is commendable, but without taking the time to really go through it, I don't think that, like I said last time, I'm not really having those as many of those like eureka moments as I feel like I might have had I played this ages ago.
Right.
Right, because it seems really, really well designed, and I just don't have the time, I feel, to spend 2 hours. I think would be wishful thinking. It'd probably take me 3 or 4 or 5 to get through that dungeon if I just tried to play it straight, and to be more honest, I probably just never would have done it. I never would have made it through the Water Temple. I think I'm like 99% sure that's what the likely outcome would have been. So, I do, especially now having finished it and seeing what the upgrades were for the 3DS version, those seem like brilliant upgrades, right? Like, absolutely, they make it more playable.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. Maybe I definitely would have never made it through the N64 version, but if I had a week and a gun to my head, I probably could have made it through the 3DS version. I assume. So I want to try it again on the next one, because it's just so much different. Obviously, playing it where every corner's an unknown versus kind of following the guides. And I exactly what happened in the Water Temple is exactly what I expected would happen, is that I'm just like, yeah, there's 20 places I can go. I'm pretty sure I've done everything I need to do in all 20 of those places. do I just keep circling around and doing all 20 and then all 20 again and then all 20 again until I figure out why I've missed something? And so, at some point that wears a little bit thin. But, again, I take it as a positive of the game that when I figure out what it was that I didn't do, I don't feel cheated, right? It was just I missed it. Like I should have seen those torches that needed to be lit. There was a lit one in the center of the room. It's not really that difficult to say, hey, this, there's one lit and two unlit, so light them. We've already done it in other dungeons. I don't know how I missed it, but so that alone makes me really kind of respect the dungeon more. Is that the parts that I considered roadblocks, really weren't all that difficult.
Right.
So I don't know. I'd like to see on this next temple. I'm going to try the same challenge and see how far I can make it.
Did you ever play the game Darksiders?
I have not. I own many copies of Darksiders. Between the various versions, like the War Master editions and 1, 2, and 3. So I haven't played it. It's always been on that list of games that I want to play.
So Darksiders 1 is possibly the quintessential Zelda clone. I think it is. Darksiders 1 is a fantastic game. And they totally take on the Zelda formula.
And do it well.
And do it very well. Nice. It's very, very good. Darksiders 2 is a good game, and it feels like they tried to throw everything in the kitchen sink at it, because it still has the dungeons much like the first game does and like Zelda does, but then you also have like colored loot, different types, and I was just like, this really wasn't needed in this game. And then the one thing I have to commend them is the developers of Darksiders try to change things up every time. So from what I understand, I have not played it. Darksiders 3 is essentially a Souls-type game. Or feels like a Souls-type game. And then you have Darksiders Genesis, which is technically a isometric twin-stick shooter.
These are pretty varied indeed.
Yes. So, now, like I said, the last two, I have no idea. I haven't played them. But that's just what I've heard. But, the first Darksiders is a spectacular game. Really well done. Great voice acting, great story. And just has that Zelda feel of these dungeons just makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely one you should probably pick up one day, Matt, when you have a chance, because that is a great one.
Yeah, it's definitely on the list.
But I'm feeling good. I had so much trepidation going into this game, feeling like I'm going to hate playing this because, the N64, I'm obviously not going to play the N64 version. To be honest with you, I was kind of scared to play the 3DS version because I was like, I don't want to sit here and play this game on my 3DS for some reason. But it's turned out fine. There's been a few combat sections of me trying to Z-target the enemy while blocking with my shield, and then also having to move and, just the cramping of the hands of trying to actually do that.
Yeah.
But that's few and far between, to be honest with you. I rarely use the shield in the game.
Yeah, I only use it when you're fighting the skeletons.
Yeah. I don't even do that. I just shoot. I just shoot the skeletons. You talking about the skeletons? I thought you were talking about the skeleton spider things.
Oh no! I mean the big ones that are like twice as tall as you, and
right.
They have a sword and shield.
Yeah, which you can do. So if you press forward and press the sword button, he does like a jump attack. It's slow, but I could be wrong, but I believe it does twice the damage as a regular slash. So a lot of times, especially with a lot of those dumb skeleton guys, let them come in for an attack, hold back away from the enemy, jump and do a backflip, and then immediately jump forward with your slash attack. That's usually a pretty good hit for them.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, but anyway, yeah, that's going to be it for us. I appreciate everybody listening. Hope you guys have a great week. But until next time, I am Drew.
And I'm Matt.
And we're out of here. You guys have a great one. And make sure you send us those emails. Dustin's been chipping in a lot, but I want to hear at least one other person that's listening to this who's played Zelda to send us an email, at least tell us our thoughts on Ocarina of Time. But until then, you guys have a great, safe week, and we'll be back next week with a beginning. About the mid part of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.